We care about education, and we care about exactly what type of education our kids are going to learn. Not just because I have kids, of course, that'll be going through that education system from primary school all the way through to university or whatever the heck they want to do with their lives, but because it matters to the future of our country. Now, the country's education minister, who's currently in the middle of a conversation with the other states and territories about the national curriculum, well, he's come out and has put a flag in the ground about Western values. Let me read from what Alan Tudge, the education minister, has had to say in the past little while. He says, we live in one of the most prosperous, egalitarian societies in the world, and children should develop an understanding of how this came about. If we diminish this understanding, we are less likely to protect and defend it. See, my public school education clearly is a little fuzzy when it comes to being able to read without your glasses. Anyway, Bella Debrera's education is, well, constant. It continues, of course, trying to advocate for things via the IPA, and she joins us now to talk about this. Now, the minister's come out and said, you know, values, Western values, the importance of an egalitarian society and prosperous nation is something worth celebrating. Tick, 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 great, great, great. But you've been in power for a little while now, and we've now got an election coming up, but there's only so many times you can really sort of, throw the red meat before eventually it actually has to be meat and they actually have to do it.
That's really true. But look, I can't remember any other education minister having actually come out and stated what would have been the obvious thing to say 50 years ago, but which is now something extremely radical to state, which is that this country is a success story. And Minister Tudge is being accused of the left and of the Greens of trying to sanitize Australian history. And all he's actually doing is redressing the balance, or addressing a massive imbalance that we now have in this radical new curriculum that they're trying to foist on the Australian population, which is that Australia was founded on genocide, that we need to constantly apologize for this country, and that there is absolutely nothing positive to be known or taught about Australia. So all he's doing is just trying to move away from the black armband version of history, which was the phrase coined by Professor Geoffrey Blainey, towards a balanced and truthful discussion of Australian history. It doesn't mean that we need to gloss over the dark pages. In fact, we need to talk about those, but we also need to talk about the light pages of Australian history. So congratulations to Minister Tudge for actually being brave enough to stand up and say this in public, which is astounding that we've got to this point in our society where it takes guts to say that.
Yeah, I agree completely, but that's the idea. But the idea that we have become so radicalised, so ridiculous in the conversation about what is at the very heart of what we teach our kids, that it's a news story, that it's a signal of where they're going to go, rather than just an absolute statement of fact. You know, the sun comes up in the morning, the moon's up at night, sort of stuff, right? But again, let's distill this for everyone watching. The reason we care so much about education is because part of the left's, if you sit there going, how did the left win? How did the left get through all of the institutions? By degrading the institutions, by devaluing the institutions, by pretending that whatever faith you had in them is somehow based on a lie or a original sin or things like that. And what they're trying to do, and have successfully done for at least a generation, is they are breeding it into the kids from the second they have a consciousness of how the world works, that they are being told as they are being explained the world what is wrong with it, as opposed to the things to be proud of. Because here's the thing, Bella, we're sure no one in the world can pass the purity tests of Twitter, but Twitter isn't real life. The real life experience of Australia as a nation is a complicated one, but as you say, you just tell the truth. But the fundamentals of where we sit and what we've been able to create and grow in the past 250 years on top of the 40,000 before that, why wouldn't you be proud of that?
Well, we should be proud of it. And this is, as you say, this is a problem. So they're being indoctrinated in the classroom, and this has been going on for a while now. Education is always going to be politicized, and it really has been captured by the left, as is very obvious in the radical new curriculum, which really is so skewed to the left that it teaches left-wing opinion as fact. So these children, if this radical curriculum is implemented, they don't stand a chance. They get to finish school thinking that Australia really isn't worth defending, which was the point that Peter Jennings made, which is that children need to be taught to be proud of their country. They need to be taught that it is a country worth fighting for. And as it stands, the curriculum does not give any Australian children the hope or the courage or the desire to actually defend Australia, because they truly believe it is a country born of racism and a country to be ashamed of. So look, it's everything, especially history. It's absolutely everything. It's how we see ourselves. It's how we operate in this world as Australian citizens, and how we, what we do if this country is ever under threat.
No, I agree completely. Bella, I appreciate your work, your advocacy, and your push on all of this. It really matters. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
Thanks so much.